what we're always told is that, there's going to be a trickle-down revolution, that that kind of opening up of the economy that happened in the early 90s was going to lead to a inflow of, foreign capital, and eventually the poor would benefit. So, being a novelist, I started out by standing outside this 27-storied building that belonged to Mukesh Ambani, with its ballrooms and its 6 floors of parking and 900 servants and helipads and so on. And it had this 27-story high vertical lawn. And bits of that grass had sort of fallen off in squares, and so I said, well, trickle down hasn't worked, but gush up has, because after the opening up of the economy, we are in a situation where 100 of India's wealthiest people own, their combined wealth is 25% of the GDP, whereas more than 80% of its population lives on less than half a dollar a day. And the levels of malnutrition, the levels of hunger, the amount of food intake, all these, while India is shown as a quickly growing economy, though of course that has slowed down now dramatically, but at its peak, what happened was that these new economic policies created a big middle class, which given the population of India, gave the impression of it was a universe of its own, with the ability to consume cars and air conditioners and mobile phones and all of that. And that huge middle class came at a cost of a much larger underclass, which was just away from the arc lights, which wasn't even being looked at. Millions of people being displaced, pushed off their lands, either by big development projects or just by land which had ceased to be productive. We have had 250,000 farmers committing suicide, which, if you even try to talk about, let's say on the Indian television channels, you actually get insulted, because
it's an extraordinary figure. It's 250,000 farmers who've killed themselves.
Yeah. And let me say that figure doesn't include the fact that, if it's a woman who kills herself, she's not considered a farmer, or now they'll start saying, oh, it wasn't suicide, oh, it was depression, it was this, it was that,
But why are they killing themselves?
Because they are caught in a debt trap, Because what happens is that the entire face of agriculture has changed. So people start growing cash crops, crops which are market friendly, which need a lot of input. They need pesticides, they need bore wells, they need all kinds of chemicals, and then the crop fails, or the cost of that they get for their product doesn't match the amount of money they have to put into it. And also you have situations like in the Punjab, which was called the rice bowl of India. Punjab never used to grow rice earlier, but now
in the north of India.
Yes, in the north, and it's supposed to be India's richest agricultural state, but there you have so many farmers' suicides now, land going saline. People, ironically, the way they commit suicide is by drinking the pesticide, which they need to, and apart from the fact that the debt, the illness that is being caused by all of this, in Punjab you have a train called the Cancer Express, where people just coming in droves to be treated for illness,
and the train is called the Cancer Express?
It's called the Cancer Express.
Because of the pesticide that they're exposed to?
Yeah. And they are, and this is the richest state in India, agriculturally the richest. And there's a crisis there, never mind in places like, towards the west, Maharashtra and Vidarbha, where, farmers are killing themselves almost every day.
I was wondering if you could read from Capitalism, a Ghost Story.
So in India, the 300 million of us who belong to the new post-IMF reforms middle class, the market, live side by side with the spirits of the netherworld, the poltergeists of dead rivers, dry wells, bald mountains and denuded forests, the ghosts of 250,000 debt-ridden farmers who've killed themselves, and the 800 million who have been impoverished and dispossessed to make way for us, and who survive on less than $50, which is 20 Indian rupees a day. Mukesh Ambani is personally worth $20 billion. He holds a majority controlling share in Reliance Industries Limited, RIL, a company with a market capitalization of $47 billion and global business interests that include petrochemicals, oil, natural gas, polyester fiber, special economic zones, fresh food, retail, high schools, life science research, and stem cell storage services. RIL recently bought 95% shares in Infotel, a TV consortium that controls 27 TV news and entertainment channels in almost every regional language. RIL is one of a handful of corporations that run India. Some of the others are the Tatas, Jindals, Vedanta, Mittals, Infosys, SR. Their race for growth has spilled across Europe, Central Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Their nets are cast wide. They are visible and invisible, overground as well as underground. The Tatas, for example, run more than 100 companies in 80 countries. They are one of India's oldest and largest private sector power companies. They own mines, gas fields, steel plants, telephone and cable TV and broadband networks, and they run whole townships. They manufacture cars and trucks and own the Taj Hotel chain, Jaguar, Land Rover, Daewoo, Tetley Tea, a publishing company, a chain of bookstores, a major brand of iodized salt, and the cosmetic giant Lakme, which I think they've sold now. Their advertising tagline could easily be, "You can't live without us." According to the rules of the gush-up gospel, the more you have, the more you can have.